Welcome to the most important week of the year for the podcast industry. Welcome to Podcast Movement 2025.
Thank you, everybody, for joining. We made it to 2:30 on Wednesday, which means it's almost beer o'clock. But we're really excited about this incredible panel. We know you've seen a lot of panels, but this one's going to be a little different because today you're going to hear the answer to the question, does size really matter? I promise you we're going to keep this appropriate, I think. Through insightful questions, thank you, ChatGPT, for that. You'll hear responses that represent the full spectrum of podcasts, of the entire podcast ecosystem. We have Brittany Clevenger, who leads growth at BetterHelp. She's going to offer insights on how brands evaluate and integrate with creators and shows. We have Haley Schramm, aka the Schramminator.
Woo!
I literally just made that up this very second.
Love
it. And she's gonna she's from Ad Results, and she's gonna share the agency and buy side point of view. We have Matt Drengler, our data guy, handsome guy too, from Podscribe. He'll show us how niche podcasts perform in relation to the more recognizable counterparts. And of course, we have Professor Greg Jackson, host of History That Doesn't Suck. He will share how he builds trust with a loyal audience that's deeply engaged and responsive to brand messages. We actually have an awesome sizzle that we'd like to show before we ask the first question.
Nice intros, Danny.
Thank you.
I promise you a legit, seriously researched, hard-hitting history of this American Union, told through entertaining stories, all of which are grounded in historical sources.
The epic tale of the first 100 years of American history, when a young nation forms, divides, and a divided nation reunites.
That's an awesome sizzle.
Beautiful.
We highly recommend everybody tunes into History That Doesn't Suck. Professor, quick question for you.
Let's do it.
How do you build and maintain trust with your listeners, and how does that trust translate when you partner with brands?
All right, I'll try and keep this succinct. So one thing right out the gate that's kind of unique about what I do is I've been telling the same story for 8 years. History That Doesn't Suck is the story of America. It's U.S. history, starting with the Revolution, and eventually I'm going to go up to the end of the 20th century. So for 8 years, we've made this slow, methodical march from the Revolution. Right now, I'm in World War II. So it's a continuous story of 186 episodes. And throughout all of that, my audience has learned and seen that they can trust me to tell the ugly, to tell the beautiful. It's all going to be frank and honest. I kind of channel Walter Cronkite, and that's the approach I want to take to doing history. So when they know that they can trust me with what I'm saying behind the mic, that translates as well to the ads. And they know that I'm also not pushing products that I don't believe in. I've said no to plenty of advertisers over the years. And I think we'll get into this a little bit more, but I bring the storytelling into the ads themselves. I'll just shut myself up at this point.
That was great. It sounds like you put a lot of research into each episode.
That would be an understatement. So I am a professor, right? Or I'm leaving that, actually. I'm leaving academia, but I'm a tenured professor. I have a PhD in history, and I take all the rigor and effort that I put into writing academic articles. Well, when I started the podcast, I took that research perspective and I dumped it into writing my episodes. So every episode is about the length of an academic article. They're about 8,000 to 10,000 words in length. There's about 100 to 120 footnotes, and usually somewhere in the neighborhood of 2 to 3 dozen sources, primary and secondary. So it's hence my tagline there, right? Legit. It's as rigorous as anything you're going to get from an academic press.
That's awesome. We have a professor and a horrible student right here, hence why I'm in sales. Brittany, this one's for you. There's quite a few massive $100+ million podcasts out there. The Rogans, the Alex Coopers, the History That Doesn't Suck. About time. Why does BetterHelp continue to have a massive footprint in niche specialty podcasts? And real quick, what would you say these shows are? What's their play? Do they drive awareness or are they performance?
Great questions. So if you take a look at our roster of shows right now, and maybe just our top 500 organized by spend, highest to lowest, half of those are under 2,500 a spot. So it's a large part. Niche podcasts are a large part of our volume, of our awareness, and it's both. It's both ROI and performance. It's both awareness. But I think the most important thing to think about is where a brand is in their life cycle in podcast. Are they new? Are they mature in the space? What's their cost per acquisition, right? What's their value of a customer? If you have a brand whose average ticket is $50, that's what their customer spends with them over a lifetime. These niche podcasts are life-changing for these businesses, right? Like they can really help them build a customer base because it's a lower spot cost. You're not paying $50,000 for an ad, but you have to know where to go, and you have to find the Professor Greg Jacksons, right? And that's where working with agencies, consultants, like the people who know how to direct a brand to get them to these wonderful opportunities, it's so important. It's a little bit of a barrier. There's a barrier to entry to this industry still, where brands come in and they just aren't sure where to go. So when they find Audacy, when they find other networks, agencies, anytime new brands come up to me and ask these questions, that's the advice that I give them is, you want some small, you want some medium, you want some large shows, but especially if you have a lower average ticket, these shows can help you scale even more effectively than other channels, just because the relationship that people have with their hosts. I could go on and on about this.
Go on.
Please do.
I think everybody here came for you. They certainly didn't come for me, but
I'm here for Haley.
Oh. Well, speaking of Haley,
No.
we got a question for the Shramminator.
All right.
Is that gonna stick?
It's never dying.
I love it. I love it.
Staying.
All right. So Haley, from an agency POV, what makes a great match between a brand and a podcast? Like essentially, like, what's your checklist? And has that checklist changed over time?
Hitting me with that 3-parter right out of the gate.
I could start one at a time.
No, I love it. So I think number one in terms of matching a brand to a podcast, authenticity. If we can find someone who is already a customer and a fan of the brand, we are set up for success. That's the ideal dream. That's what we're looking for. When it comes to a checklist, I think taking a step back, it's making sure first off that that it rolls up to your overarching strategy and to your learning agenda. But then diving into a checklist, for sure, there is one. It has definitely changed over time. It changes very frequently. And I would say that it also changes by client, absolutely. So I think some of the most important things, though, on top of authenticity would include things like, is it the right genre show content fit for your audience? And hopefully brands are able to share some audience insights with you about their customers, and then agencies ideally use some third-party sites like MRI Simmons, GWI to really hone in on where that audience is to help implement that strategy. Of course, price is going to come into play, of course. But then I think one thing that's probably a little bit newer for everybody is it simulcast? I think that's becoming a huge important piece of the puzzle. And for some brands, kind of as Brittany was saying, depending on if you're mature in the space or new to the space, I think even going further with that and extending to 360s is huge. Being able to leverage that audience then on social, do live events, really go above and beyond to connect with that audience is huge. And then I think way down the line is maybe not last, and definitely still comes into play as size, but I would never say that size is the defining factor of a yes or a no in strategy.
A quick follow-up, is there a size of audio versus the YouTube simulcast that really matters to you, or is it just like an added extension with the video?
I think it might depend on the client for sure, depending on, if it's a really visual product, maybe they want more video than audio. But I think right now, the space that we're in, just getting a video component is a bonus and is something that now, and maybe to others, isn't a bonus and is a requirement. So
if you're a podcaster out here, get your camera rolling, right?
Yes, please.
All right, so I'm going to hit Matt up, our data guy. Matt actually has some awesome data that we found really interesting. It might be surprising. It might surprise you all, but I know it's going to impress you all. Matt, do you want to walk us through this slide?
Yeah, thank you for the intro. Matt, the data guy, is the most needy guy, too. I have to have slides, so thank you, everyone, for the opportunity to review these with you. Here at Podscribe, on a quarterly basis, we release a benchmark report. It's a performance benchmark report. The benchmark report this one specifically came from was our Q4 benchmark report. It had over 60,000 campaigns, hundreds of brands, hundreds of publishers. And when we aggregate all that together, we get some really interesting data. And performance by show is something that we talked about in that last report. And it's kind of interesting to see. I'll very quickly describe what you're seeing in these graphs so we're sort of all on the same page. So if you look at the left graph here, that x-axis, the one that goes like this, that axis is showing the size of the audio reach, so how big is a show. So from left to right is smallest to largest. The y-axis, or the one that goes like this, that's the one that shows response rates. So we're looking specifically at median visitation rates across these different buckets of show sizes. So the higher you are, the higher your response rate. And so what we see here very clearly in this trend line is that the smaller the show, we actually see better response rates. And so that's one aspect of this, is do people respond at a higher rate? Okay, great. Well, obviously, to Haley's point, price is an important aspect of this analysis as well. So when we look at the right graph, so it's the same x-axis, but the y-axis here is showing median cost per acquired customer. And so higher means a higher cost per acquired customer, so the lower the number, the better. And you sort of see that inverse slope on that line where it's going from low to high, left to right. And what that means is that the trend remains true on a per dollar basis, that a smaller show drives lower cost per acquisition and higher visitation rate. So that's something that we see now and that we're going to be monitoring now over our next performance benchmark reports here coming up.
That's really impressive.
I was really hoping somebody would come with some concrete numbers, because it's true.
Matt, the data guy here, yeah.
Matt, the data guy.
And I think we have one more slide. Yep.
Yeah, so I think there's a question of like why, right? Why does this happen? And there's an interesting confounding variable in this analysis, and it's not this slide just yet. There's another confounding variable which I took a look at with our latest benchmark data. So that had probably 2 times as many advertisers and about 2 times as many campaigns. And what we found is the smaller the show, the longer the ad read. Interesting, right? Maybe more thoughts on why that is in a little bit here. But the smaller the show, the longer the ad read. To us, what that kind of signals is like we're way different as a podcast industry than what I think social media is doing today. How many times have we as marketers sat in meetings and been like, that 6-second ad, that's what we need to do because the attention span of people is all over the place. And we're here on stage talking about longer ads performing better. Like podcast industry, man, it's great to be here. So all of that to lead into, okay, so smaller shows do longer ad reads. And what we see here is that also longer ad reads perform better on a per impression basis. So the response rates, sloping upward. That's what that black line is showing. And then the yellow line is showing a decrease in cost per acquired customer as the size of the audience goes up, as the length in seconds goes up. And so as we see these trends, basically what it seems to us is those smaller shows doing the longer ad reads. Why is that? Well, we think it's because the hosts care. We think it's because they care a lot about what they're saying about their advertisers. They're willing to go all out. They're willing to put that personal endorsement that's in there. Maybe unscripted, maybe a little bit of scripting going on, but they try really hard to make sure their audience sees the value of the advertiser that they're representing.
Can I chime in?
Please do, actually.
Yeah,
So
I do on occasion meet the podcaster who feels like, it's a 60-second ad. Well, that's what they get. I take an absolutely opposite approach. 60 seconds,
exactly.
The minimum. These are the people who are making your dreams happen. I mean, yes, someone's listening, but you can only do this because someone is paying those bills, right?
That's right.
You've got to be successful. You need to build successful long-term partnerships. So 60 seconds for me, when I get that, that's the minimum. I'm going to make a story out of the advertisement itself. And if it takes 75 seconds to tell it, well, I got to finish the story, first of all. And second of all, because I turned it into a story, my listeners, I've actually gotten emails commenting on how much they enjoy. Well, sorry, I'm a little scatterbrained on this now, but at one point, my social media team there, you post questions, comments, and the fans respond. And one was, what's your favorite story recently from HTDS? And of course, it was episodes for the most part. And then one person came in and said, oh, that ad What? I
Come
did
on.
not see that
This
coming.
is not the Super Bowl. This is podcast. Come on.
So, you can draw them in. You can make the ad an extension of what you're actually trying to podcast about. And so don't look at it as, oh, this dirty thing I have to do. No, this is the thing that lets you do what you love. Yes. I'm going to shut up at this point.
No, perfect.
Perfect.
I'm so happy that you touched on that, because I feel like that's a part of the business that sometimes we forget and we need to bring to the surface, that like this audio is a land of opportunity. And I can't tell you how many lives I've seen change, including my own, in the last 5 to 6 years, right? Like, we are all here to support each other. So I could listen to you go on about that spiel forever. And the reads are, wonderful.
Being the true salesperson I am, I did happen to find a incredible ad that Professor Greg Jackson did with BetterHelp, and we brought it for you today. And I'll make a comment after this one.
HTDS is sponsored by BetterHelp. You know what surprised me the most as I've studied the lives of U.S. presidents? Here they are, under pressure and bearing responsibilities few of us can even imagine. Yet many, if not most of them, managed to make time for themselves every day. Like John Quincy Adams, who had an evening ritual of chess and billiards with the fam. Or Theodore Roosevelt, who basically invented the idea of going for a run. If they can do it, you can do it. Sometimes we just need a little help figuring out how to give ourselves permission. And therapy can help us get there. Whether it's making yourself enough of a priority or another struggle, BetterHelp has the licensed therapist to do just that, to help. It really couldn't be easier or more convenient.
That's great.
So what I loved about that,
First, I just have to point out,
Please.
40 seconds. That was a clipped version. I want to highlight that.
I wasn't going to say
That ad
anything.
was like
I was
twice
gonna
as
say-
long.
the real host read was 47 minutes. Our talented team cut it down a little bit.
It was the history of BetterHelp. Yeah.
And what I loved about that was how organic it was. Like, people knew that they were listening to an ad, but they didn't care. It was so organic, and you tied an advertisement with the engagement and retention to make it really part of your show, and I thought that was really brilliant.
And pulling in the stories is just so cool, right? Like, that's what we live for in podcasting, is like, how do we tie it to the content? Beautifully done. Big fan.
Thank you.
How many of you signed up?
So I think let's open up some questions for everybody. If you could debunk one myth about podcast size correlating with success, what would it be?
I would say the size of their fame, right? Like, podcasting is built on raw, relatable stories. And there are so many wonderful celebrities and huge talent out there. So I'm not saying that, like, we don't want to hear from people up there. But I think there were a few years there where everyone just instantly thought, oh, this huge celebrity podcast is coming out. It's going to be a big hit. You know, we're going to sell out ads and you're not going to be able to get any inventory. And that just wasn't always the case. Sometimes it's absolutely the case, but that was something we learned a few years ago, is truly the magic and the power of podcasts is people choose to listen to people that make them feel seen, right? Like, they relate to you, they see themselves in you, you touch them in a certain way. So that was a big myth that I think we've kind of already debunked, but still to me is really interesting.
I think similar to that is that if your plan is strictly those top chart shows, that you're going to see ROI. And I don't think that's the case for many people. I think, and especially for most DR clients, we see the opposite, where their success is built on a strong foundation of those specialty and niche shows. So definitely important to have a good mix.
Yeah, I love that. It's funny because through niche shows, you can really develop a loyal relationship with an audience that you're trying to reach, and you're probably not reaching elsewhere.
And niche doesn't even mean like small, right? Like, sometimes I think I say that and I think a small show, but yeah, like, it's just like, that's not necessarily the case. Like, there's some of the hugest shows out there, but they're still not like a household name, right? To like just mainstream life outside of podcast world. So I think I forget that sometimes too.
Totally. All right, so here's a fun one. Given a fixed budget and a really strict CPA goal, why might it be smarter to bet on a roster of niche or specialty podcasts instead of going all in on one or two big name shows?
I can kick it off if you'd like. I think the big thing here, and especially in the podcast space, it's about testing and learning.
Love that.
If you have a fixed budget and a set goal, spread that money out how you can. Take those learnings that you have and, leverage it with your best bets. Get a variety of show sizes, audiences, genres, all of those things to make sure that at the end of it, you have a strong takeaway that implements and impacts your strategy moving forward.
100%. Like if you are placing a buy for the first time, like I used to be on the agency side, now I'm on the brand side. And I learned very quickly when I worked on new biz, meaning only new clients in podcast, was some small, some medium, some large, and encourage brands to adopt that test mentality and just go in knowing some are going to crush it, some are going to be okay, and some are going to make you cry because it was a perfect fit on paper. Everything looked great. There's no reason it shouldn't have performed, and it just completely bombed. So when you kind of prep everyone's expectations and you have a good diversified portfolio of shows for testing, then you know that one big show might explode, right? But then you're also going to have some learnings on genres and different sizes and different types of hosts that work for you in the smaller ones as well. So I love that.
I'll add to that, which, with a fixed budget, sometimes there's an opportunity to carve out some of that budget and do something that we like to talk to new advertisers in the space, doing things like a run of network buy. And those run of network buys typically means those impressions are being spread across multiple different shows. And with the right measurement partner, you're able to slice and dice that data. You can see things like within this run of network buy, which specific show or maybe which specific genre performed best. And now through that testing budget, now we have an opportunity to say, okay, the next time around, I see what popped and I see what didn't do very well, and you can optimize your budget accordingly. So from my perspective, testing out some individual small shows, niche shows, as well as a run of network buy really gives you a well-rounded opportunity to see what works for you and respond in kind based on the measurement results.
It's so funny. I love that line because, not a line, I love that strategy. It's become our playbook because sometimes there's shows that would never make sense.
Right.
You never would guess.
Right.
Some people think the misconception is you're a health and fitness brand. You only can run in health and fitness brands. Well,
exactly.
Guess what? I'm healthy and fit, right? I like history. I like true crime.
Exactly.
I like influencer. I like Bravo celebrities.
Dan, if I'll jump in.
Please.
I think that in that niche, boutique, whatever term you want to use, the community that's there more so than perhaps a really broad show. It's just such a big tent. You don't get that same community. These are all good things. They're just different aspects. So my mind goes to when I've done Bombas over the years, socks. I was packing to. I can't remember if it was a live show. It was a History Channel shoot. But I'm packing. I'm on my way out, seeing some notifications. My Facebook group has a conversation going on. Someone's tagged me. Professor, do you really wear Bombas socks? I snapped a photo of the Bombas socks I was just then putting in my luggage, and posted it. So that sort of engagement, right? And it's in this embedded Facebook group with thousands of my listeners, so they're all seeing that, and that, you're really feeding within the community. So it's beyond the 60-second ad, right? You tell a full story, but then that further engagement, that's going to happen only when there's that sort of, click.
Absolutely.
Those are the best relationships. Sorry, did I cut you off,
No,
data
please.
guy?
Are you kidding me? No. I'm just the data guy. Come on. People came here to hear you.
No. Those are the best partnerships where someone kind of becomes like a brand ambassador for your brand, right? Like you really do give organic mentions because it really is like rooted in your life. Like that's
Absolutely.
exactly it.
Yeah, and I'm not getting paid extra to do that. I'm happy to do it, right? And again, I want to see my audience, first I those are great socks, right? BetterHelp does great stuff. I want to see those conversions happen where it makes sense. So, yeah, I'm happy. I'm not going to look at this as I did my ad piece, I did my part. No, this is a partnership. You keep pushing and putting into it.
Love it.
Can I add, or do you, if you've got more going on? Okay. Matt, the data guy, back. So what I'll say is in
Should be a
support of
podcast.
what you're talking about, Brittany, what you're talking about, this concept of a personal endorsement. We work really hard to judge how good an ad read is. And the way that we'll score this is a 10 means it's the best personal endorsement that we've seen. A 1 is really no personal endorsement can be found. And what we've found is that the higher this read score, the more personal endorsement there is within that ad read, the better the performance. And so it's those hosts that spend the time to marry that personal endorsement, that personal experience with the product in the ad. It really does make the magic happen.
We have we're just going to keep going on tangents. Because it's so valuable, these points you guys are bringing up. We're really mature in the space, and we kind of got stuck in this thinking where we thought, most people have heard a host read ad by BetterHelp, and there's nothing we can do in our creative to really kind of like change performance. But our YouTube side with influencers, not podcasts, but influencers, is kind of, we treat it as a separate channel. Our YouTube channel manager at BetterHelp recently decided to customize the copy experience where they're sending a questionnaire to these hosts and having them answer questions about their personal I know
that's great.
Blew my freaking mind. I mean, I've been in marketing for a really long time. This shouldn't be that novel, but it really was amazing. And so they had the host answer a bunch of questions about some breakthrough therapy moments in their lives. And then they turned that into a creative brief and, gave that back to the hosts. And then they created the ads from there. And performance, they lowered, the cost per acquisition dramatically over just a few months. And I was like, oh my gosh, that's just, when you've been in this space for a really long time, do not ever forget the true power of endorsement in this channel. And not only endorsement, but people are seeking you out. So it's not even this is on demand content. And it was a big reminder for me. So we're kind of working on that, with BetterHelp, how can we customize it? The bandwidth is really hard when you're on hundreds to thousands of shows, right? It's tough, but for key partners, that's something we're really looking forward to doing.
Go ahead.
Sorry, jumping in. And I think it's brands that take the time to do that and know how important it is to make the copy fit the show in terms of giving them a platform to be able to give the best endorsement possible, speak to that authenticity, make it organic. That's the best thing you can possibly do.
Yep. I had a point that I wrote, and I actually coined this phrase, so if anybody uses this, you owe me $1. The quote is, relevance is the new reach. And it really matches everything that it's consistent with everything we've all said on this panel.
I'm going to be paying you a lot, Danny.
I'll give you my Venmo. What do you think about that quote? And
I think that's a fantastic quote. I love it. I think it's so accurate for where we are, which is in such an opt-in medium. Podcast and listening to podcast is so intentional when you go and you make that download. It's what I love about this space. There really is a podcast for every passion and every person. And I think that really speaks to relevance is the new reach.
And God, I'm really good at cutting people off. Sorry.
No.
Sorry, Professor.
So, look, if I can make an analogy of relevance and
Please.
reach. Look, if you're an advertiser, you're trying to catch fish, right? You don't necessarily have to fish in the ocean. That's great. That could work out. But you might be better off with a pond or a lake that has a lot of fish in it. Relevance, that's what you're going for. If this is a place where you can cast a net and you scoop up, all the fish you could imagine, that's far better than being on this vast ocean that's not going to give you any returns.
Yep. You're going to convert better by being more relevant, right? Relevance is actually a huge marketing tactic that I think we don't really use in podcasts. We really aren't focusing on relevance, and it's kind of more widely utilized in other channels. But that's exactly the point of relevance, is your conversion levels are going to be higher because you're speaking exactly the right message to the right people.
So with 28 seconds left, do you guys have time for to hang out for a few minutes for anybody that has any questions after this?
Of course.
Always.
So I see hands out there, but they're going to literally kick us off the stage in 15, 14. So we'll all hang out over there.
Thank you, Danny.
Hey, guys, thank you
Good
so
job,
much
Danny.
for all your
Thank you, everybody.
tune into history that doesn't suck.
Thank you guys for coming.